But I saw yesterday, I was driving up King Street on my way to work. I saw police cars parked on the left-hand side towards the entrance to that egg. And I looked over and I saw a person who lives in that building yelling and screaming and not physically fighting, but arguing with a police officer who had a rifle slung along with another cop near him. And I was like, that is not him. I see him almost every day, and he goes in now with his dog from like dog park and running errands. And I was like, what is going on? I was sort of just shocked. Actually, I kind of stopped traffic while I was looking. I didn't realize it would be a light had changed. So I went around park and I walked around the building, and I walked up to where it was going on, and he was just yelling, just so upset. And I said, guys, what? It's my coworkers from work who were out back. What's going on? I said, well, there's a dog jumped in the back of his truck, and the police officer wants to shoot him in the back of the truck. And Rod's trying to block the shot so his dog does not get hit.
His dog's in the truck.
His dog, yeah, because what had happened minutes before I'd walked in there, was that the dog had leaped out of the back of a pickup truck whose back, I don't know what it's called, flat vinyl roof thing, was bent over. He had jumped out and Rod had pulled in and was unloading his car and let his dog down. But when he saw this strange dog, he picked his dog up, put it in a collapsible cage in the back of his car, and then that's when the dog jumped in the back of his car. And there was Rod's afterwards, the dog had growled a little bit, but like nothing aggressively, no aggressive movements, none of that. Like it was just more just being there, just sort of looking around, sniffing, a brand new area. So then the lot guys called the cops or whatever, and then they arrived, and naturally they jumped out with a gun because they don't know what they're confronting. It's a mad dog, I don't play that. So then the guy was going to take a shot at this dog in the back of Rod, and Rod didn't want his dog or his car or anything to get hurt. And there's people standing about 10 feet away from the back of Rod's car where this police officer wanted to shoot into. So that's what Rod was doing. He was trying to strike that. So then they handcuffed Rod and threw him down onto and they actually did. They hustled him over and threw him down onto the concrete. And then by that time, a few more officers, and that's when I stepped over where Rod had been and got in the way of the gun hit him at the back of the dogs or whatever.
So then the dog jumped out.
So I was standing there talking to the dog, and I was yelling at the police officers too. But and they were yelling at me to move. I'm obstructing justice. I'm in the way. I'm, all that's right. I'm going to be arrested. So I'm talking to a dog. I put my hand out. It sniffs it or whatever.
This is the pit bull.
This is the pit bull. The other dog is in the collapsible cage. This is the pit bull that jumps down. It goes around me. It tries to get back in the back of the truck it came out of, but it couldn't. So it came back and jumped back in Rod's car. I touched it. It circled around me then, and I touched its nose before it jumped back in, and its tail was wagging. I know, cats purr when they're nervous or whatever, but this dog was on the ground, was being aggressive.
You didn't feel threatened.
I didn't feel threatened. I didn't know. I was right there with it. I was as near to you as the dog. The dog's you. I'm me, and that's how it was. And the officer with the gun was on the other side, across the street by that firefly. Like that's with the rifle along, and then sirens kept wailing, and more cars began to arrive, and then there was sort of a wall, and then I yelled out to Rod, should I call anybody? Should I do anything? He said, yeah, call Police Chief Sadler and tell him to get down here and a few expletives or whatever, and try and solve this. So then I'm there, and then I said, what shall I do? He said, step back. So I stepped back, and then that's when the officers tried to approach the car from the side with the loop. Now the dog's still in the back of the car. It's still in the back of this SUV or whatever. And we all know the size a little in the back. They couldn't get the loop around it, and they only had one. Now they had multiple loops because they were anyway. So they couldn't. So then they tried to tase him. They missed, and the dog jumped out, ran around the far side of the truck. It had come in, and then that's when they shot it in the middle of the parking with people on either side.
So they tased it while it was in the truck. You said they missed.
They missed.
Yeah. Tried to tase it, but the dog was in
they had opened it,
in the SUV.
Yeah, it jumped out, and they tried, and the barb. I don't know how tased worked, but the barb missed. So it still had some wires on the edge. It was trailing. It was running, but it didn't. Even after they tased, it didn't. bark or growl trying to attack anything. It didn't turn around and try and go after anybody. That's the thing. It ran back to where the car had come in, went on the far side, and that's when they shot it in the parking lot. And so that's.
They shot once.
They shot once, and I think I either grazed it or skinned it or whatever, and then they shot
Stopped.
it. No, they shot the dog once. It didn't stop. It moved. It still was moving, and it turned. I don't know if it's shocked, surprised. I don't know. And then they shot the dog again, and it was still alive a little bit on the pavement, and no one approached it. You know. Actually, the coworker said, "Should I go put my chef's coat on it? You know, should I do whatever?" Because they kept saying it's still breathing, it's still alive.